What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. Today we're going over the GEP Sparrow MX3. This is a high quality 3-inch drone that I suspect is packing a big punch. I read a few reviews on this while I was waiting for my sample to arrive, and all the ones I read saw the Sparrow in a positive light. It's really been one positive review after another. Early this year, or maybe it was even last year, there were a couple 3-inch drones that really made a big splash. But not long after came the introduction of the brushless 2-inch market, which made an even bigger splash. And we're still seeing the remnants of that to this day, with new 2-inchers coming out all the time. I'm hoping to see a resurgence in the popularity for 3-inchers. I mean, they fly great and are extremely agile. Plus, they're not as intimidating as a 5-inch drone, not only for beginners, but for those around you as well. Alright, so the Sparrow is fully assembled, and it's a 139mm micro quad, and it comes in two options, either a bind and fly or plug and play. I received the bind and fly, which comes with the FRsky RXSR micro receiver. Also included in the build is an F3 flight controller, BL Heli S ESCs, it's a 4-in-1 board, a Runcam micro Swift, and of course the 1408 motors, which everyone has been talking about. They have some incredibly strong magnets, and you know, it reminds me a lot of the Brother Hobby 1407s. They both have about the same resistance when you spin it with your fingers. Let's open her up and see what's all included. Nice, we get a nice little carrying case. The scribbling you see here, it's actually printed on. I would have preferred it not to be there, but I suppose to each their own. And let's see what we get in here. First up, we get two Velcro straps. One of them is for the battery and the other is for the action camera. Some stickers. We're also getting 5 full sets of propellers. These are 3042 tri-bladed props, which are strikingly reminiscent of the Rotor X 3-inchers. No doubt they are a great set of props with a great balance between efficiency and power. Next up, we have a toggle allowing you to adjust the Runcam's OSD settings. And the star of the show, the GEP Sparrow MX3. I think most will agree that this is a very good looking drone, and you know, it's got some nice hardware too. I'm pretty sure this is the first 3-incher with this type of build, and by that I mean the use of the aluminum canopy. There are a number of 5-inchers that are pretty similar to the way this looks. We're talking about the D-Quad Obsession, the X215 from FRsky, the Real ACC D215, and that's just to name a few. I think no matter what it is, when something looks as good as this, it's going to inspire others to create their own. And I know this is a touchy subject for some, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Alright, let's start off with the weight and some measurements. Pretty much just the quad itself right here. 140 grams, which I think is a good weight. Throw everything on there, including a 4-cell 850 milliamp LiPo, and you can expect an all-up weight of 258 grams. Of course, this is highly dependent on what battery you're using. I'm using the 75C from Tattoo. Let's see how thick the main plate is. 3mm. I think it should be enough for a micro quad that's under 150mm. And here's a couple other measurements. The aluminum is 4mm thick. This little gap is 16mm wide and right around 34mm long. What else can I measure? Oh yeah, the outside of the aluminum, 24mm. I think that should be good. Let's go ahead and move on to the motors. These are GEP branded 1408 motors at 3500 kV. There are 2 clockwise and 2 counterclockwise. They are high quality motors and they definitely feel like it. The magnets that are used in this must be very strong because it actually takes a bit of force to get it to spin. It has sort of a notchy feel to it. The only other motor that felt like this was the Brother Hobby 1407s, which are also a great set of motors. Here's a good shot of what I mean by it being notchy. Unless you give it a good twist, it doesn't spin freely like most motors. Alright, just want to talk a little bit about the frame. The MX3 is a true X frame that combines 7075 aviation grade aluminum with 3K carbon fiber for a total weight of 39 grams. The 3mm carbon fiber main plate should be able to hold up in moderate speed crash. I don't think any frame is unbreakable, but this frame does feel durable and very well constructed. The fitment is solid all around. The reason why I like these aluminum canopies is because they are very strong and it's unlikely to be a point of failure. I'd imagine the carbon fiber breaking before the aluminum for sure. Another thing I like about this frame is everything is easy to access. For example, you have a direct path to the screws on the camera. Sometimes the propeller are in the way, but with the MX3 you have a clear path, which is very nice. You can tell that there was attention to detail. Little things like degree markings or use of antenna straws, I'm not sure what it called them. Little things like that definitely gets bonus points. Alright, next up we have the FPV setup. With the camera being the Runcam Micro Swift 2, it's definitely one of the best micro-sized CCD cameras available, but then again there's not really that much competition to begin with. It's got a 600 TVL resolution, 2.1mm lens, and thankfully a built-in FPV OSD consisting of changeable name, timer, and voltage. The reason why I say thankful is because the flight controller does not have an OSD. With this camera you can expect a clean, clear, vibrant picture. In fact, image quality is better than even some of my normal size CCD cameras. Included in this kit is also a toggle allowing you to adjust the camera settings, and this includes brightness, contrast, exposure, and a bunch of different other settings. And they can all be changed basically on the fly since they've already attached a little adapter that remains plugged into the back of the camera. So all you need to do is plug that toggle into the connector like this, and you are ready to set things up. A word of caution, just make sure you tuck the connector back in and it's secure. You really don't want it getting caught up in the propellers because this thing will rip right off. This next part will only be an issue, I guess, if you're new to FPV. The camera angle at minimum is around 35 degrees. The top left part of the camera can't go any lower because it gets caught up on the aluminum canopy. On the bottom of the frame is a slab of rubber, and this is used to grip onto the battery and prevent it from sliding around. To remove the canopy, there are 4 screws. Let's remove them. Screw, 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 screwing, 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 screw, screw. And attached to the camera is a 72 channel TX20 VTX. It's a power switchable that starts from 0 to 25 to 100 and to 250 milliwatts. It's also switchable between NTSC and PAL. All of these settings can be accessed through your goggles and radio by simply yawing left at center and full pitch forward. But there is also a button in the case you prefer to go a different route. A dipole antenna is connected to the board through an IPEX connector, which is fine with me. I know some people prefer to use CP antennas, but since I don't really fly that far away, I'm 100% content with the dipole's performance. I never had a single issue. One last thing I wanted to say is I think it's great that we're seeing a lot of VTX manufacturers creating video transmitters using either the 20x20 or 30.5mm mounting holes. I think it's becoming a standard since most setups no longer require an individual PDB, and because of this we now have a video transmitter that actually looks like it belongs there. No more double-sided tape or zip ties, which definitely makes for a cleaner, more professional look. And next up, right under the VTX, or level 2 of the 3-level stack, is the Pico BLX Evo flight controller. It's a micro-sized F3 flight controller that arrives flashed with firmware 3.15. It's a good board, and together with the ESCs, you can run at max 8K gyro and 4K PID loop rates using DShot 600 protocol. One thing I need to mention regarding this board is The latest version of Betaflight that is compatible with this board is firmware 3.17. This is actually very disappointing because firmware 3.2 and newer have a lot of new awesome features that really can't be used unless you switch to a different flight controller. And the last level is the 4-in-1 BL Heli S ESC. There's not much to say about it other than it's a 28 amp ESC with burst rates of up to 35 amps. It's able to run 2S up to 4S LiPos, and you can run protocols from 1-shot up to D-Shot 600 at a max 4K PID loop. Alright, just a few other things I need to mention. I received the BNF edition, which comes with an FRsky RXSR micro receiver. It's a 16-channel diversity receiver, and the antennas are connected to the board using IPEX connectors, and this just makes for easy repairs. It weighs just 1.5 grams and is the smallest diversity receiver from FRsky. It's about the same size as the XM single antenna receiver, and thanks for whoever made this picture. And the last part, which I thought was pretty cool. There are 2 LEDs on the back of the quad. You might be asking, what is so cool about these LEDs? Well, I will tell you what is so cool about these LEDs. The LEDs actually change. Well, more accurately, it will fade to other colors depending on how much throttle is given. Cool, right? Alright, let's check out some flight videos. The first set is going to be some line of sight clips, and the second will be FPV. These flights are all flown on 4S 850 mAh tattoos. Wow, now that's some 3S power. Shouldn't be any surprise there. These motors are monsters when it comes to thrust. By the way, I'm trying something new. I actually have 3 cameras rolling at the same time. Let me know if you guys get nauseous. I forgot to change my action cam back to 1080, so that's why it's a little worse quality than the other cameras. The quad is very responsive, it's agile, easily controllable, everything you would want in a race drone. And the thing is, I can't remember whether I used the stock tune or if it was my tune, but whichever it is, it's flying perfect. Alright, time for the summary. I think the MX3 really shows that it's worth the high price tag. This thing is a monster, and being a 3-inch quad, it's agile, and in my opinion, it's easier to fly over a larger 5-inch quad. On that same note, I think it's got a very similar flight feeling to how a 5-inch flies, which I'm assuming has a lot to do with the high amounts of thrust that are coming from these motors. In total, this is a very well balanced drone. It's got a nice FPV setup, great hardware, and definitely a sexy looking frame. The Sparrow is a big winner in my book, and with that being said, thanks very much for watching. See ya. Wait, don't go yet. This is just where I stop talking. My flight footage will remain on. Okay, now, see ya.
We'll be right back.